morning, everyone. I know I'm the last speaker before the breakfast, so I'll try to be quick, okay? So my presentation is just a brief summary of the Spanish legislation regarding the medically assisted dying. As Ginny said, I was working in Spain now. I'm working in Cork at the moment. So, who am I? I was trained in Spain, as you can see there on the left, in Viladecans. It's a city really close to Barcelona. I was working in a GP practice that provided care to around 23,000 people. And when the medical assisted dying law was passed in Spain, I was the doctor in charge of assisting my colleagues and introducing the legislation in my GP practice. Now, what's the background regarding this medical assisted dying in Spain? So as you can see, before it was passed, the criminal code considered euthanasia or medical assisted dying as a crime. There were multiple tries to present or approve a law in the Spanish Parliament, starting the first one in 1990 until the last one in 2017. None of them were successful until 2021, when something changed. Now, between the last one in 2017 until 2021, there were multiple political debates. There were multiple civil rights associations fighting for this law to be passed. But there's one thing that I could consider even more important than all that, and that could be what we could call the high-profile cases. Now, when I started checking what the medical assisted dying situation was in Ireland, I could see plenty of doctors being involved and politicians being involved. But what shocked me is that in Spain, what we were seeing in the media were more patients and real stories, more than ethical and technical debates. Real stories are the ones that have the power to convince people. So the first one, which is the most popular in Spain, could be the one on the left, Ramon San Pedro. Now, he passed away in 1998. There's a movie starring the now Hollywood star, Javier Bardem. And the two on the right, José Antonio Arrabal and María José Carrasco, would be two of the most famous and latest cases. Now, the two of them recorded themselves committing suicide. And these videos were published in the Spanish media and giving a brief speech in support of medically assisted dying regulation in Spain. So, after all this happened, from 2017, the last try, until 2021, the law was finally approved on the 18th of March 2021 in the Spanish Parliament. It was later published, and then it came into force in June 2021. Now, as you can see here, the Spanish name of the law could be translated as Regulation of Euthanasia. Now, in Spain, we use euthanasia as a common word. It has no demeaning sense. It has no negative sense in Spain. It means for us the same as medical assisted dying, so you'll see that word in my presentation quite often. So, the Spanish law has two main requirements. One would be the legal requirement, the other one would be the medical requirement. Regarding the legal requirements, you have to be over 18 to apply for medical assisted dying or euthanasia, as we call it there, and you have to have the Spanish nationality or you have to live in Spain for at least 12 months. Regarding the medical requirements, there's two of them, okay? You have to meet one or the other, but not both. I will read them here because I want to be as accurate as possible. So the first one would be having a severe, chronic, and debilitating condition, which is affecting the physical autonomy and daily life activities, the ability to express themselves and interact with others, involving constant and unbearable physical or psychological suffering with a certainty or high probability that such limitations will persist over time with no possibility of significant cure or improvement. The second requirement would be a serious and incurable disease, which causes constant and unbearable physical or psychological suffering for the patient, with no possibility of relief that the person would consider tolerable, with a limited life prognosis in a context of progressive frailty. So as you can see here, only one of the requirements mentions the limited life prognosis, not the other. And remember, you only have to meet one of these requirements, not two. So, as you can see here, there's a typo. My computer can translate it back into Spanish. So instead of responsible, it says responsible. Sorry for that. So how does it work? So the patient has to submit, the patient or the person named in the, let's say, Spanish equivalent to the power of attorney, they have to submit a first application to the responsible doctor, which will be the patient's choice. Now, 15 days later, the patient or that named person has to submit a second application. Now, those 15 days can be a shorter period of time if the patient is suffering with a medical condition that could lead to his death sooner. After that second application is done, the case will be assessed by a consultant doctor. Now, it doesn't mean a consultant as we know here, like hospital consultants. The only requirement for the consultant doctor is that it has to be medically independent from the responsible doctor. That's it. Now, that consultant doctor will write down a report, and that report will be sent to the regional committee, who will name a multidisciplinary team that will again assess the case. They will write another report. That report will go back to the committee, and once it's all approved, it will inform the responsible doctor so they can proceed. As you can see, all the yellow stars on the process will be all the moments during the process where the application can be rejected. And of course, the patient can also stop the process at any time, even when the medication is about to be administered. Once it's all approved, it will be the patient's choice to decide how they want it to be done. So there's two options: the medication administered by the responsible doctor, or the medication being prescribed by the responsible doctor and then self-administered by the patient. Of course, the team or the responsible team will provide care until the moment of the death. So the Spanish government, after they pass this law, they are doing annual reports. So to see how it's working, what are the difficulties and what are the numbers. The last one was the 2022 annual report. It was published in December 23. So we take time to do things. Now, as you can see here, this would be the main numbers there. You can see that over 500 applications were done in the year 2022, and only 288 procedures were performed. Now, the most common patient profile was a patient between the 60s, 80s with a neurological or oncological medical condition. 1/3 of the applicants died before the application was approved or rejected. Most of the initial applications, and I think that for us, especially myself as a GP, it's important, they were done by primary care doctors, and less than 20% of the applications were denied, 1/3 of which were approved after the patient appealed. So we'll see these numbers more in graphs and tables. So as you can see here, the numbers in 2021 would be from June, when it came into force, until December. They were not properly connected, but then in 2022, everything was properly done. So you can see the 576 applications and the 288 procedures performed. You can see that the most or the preferred procedure could be the medication being administered by the responsible doctor. As I was saying here, the most common profile would be a patient between their 60s and 80s, and the most common medical conditions could be neurological and oncological conditions, being 2/3 of the patients. Now, as you can see here, 2/3 of the responsible doctors were general practitioners, which is quite important to highlight. So, it could be all. I said it was going to be brief, so I want to finish my presentation with a Spanish poem. I will read it first in Spanish, and I will translate it into English. So in Spanish it says: Débil mortal, no te asuste, mi oscuridad ni mi nombre. En mi seno encuentra el hombre un término a su pesar. Yo compasiva le ofrezco, lejos del mundo un asilo, donde a mi sombra tranquilo, para siempre duermo en paz. And in English it could be translated as: Weak mortal, don't be afraid of my darkness or my name. In me humans find an end to their suffering. I mercifully offer them, away from the world, asylum, and under my shield and quiet, forever they may peacefully sleep. Thank you very much.